Over its years, Brawl Stars has gone through a lot of game modes, but today only a few are actually playable. And here is the most hated thing about all of them. We'll start off with Gem Grab, and from what I've seen, the most hated thing about this mode is how quickly the game can turn around. We've probably all experienced by now that one game where your team slowly gathers gems throughout the entire match, but as soon as your gem carrier is taken down, the other team's able to win. It seems as though Gem Grab is capable of the fastest turnovers, and that gives players a lot of reason to dislike the mode, as well as a component of the game mode that players can hate the most. The most hated thing about Brawl Ball is shamefully the classic Brawl Ball Mortis. In this match, you'll get to witness not one, but two Brawl Ball Mortises, and everything silly that they do throughout the entire match. Like, honestly, I feel a little disheartened to tell you that that Mortis trick shot, if you want to call it, move was done by a real player. Oh, and aside from the Mortis' daring attempts to clear the map or pass everyone and score, he's not good in defense at all. The most hated thing about Bounty, and I actually really like this one, is the blue star. Ever since the 20-star cap was introduced to Bounty, the blue star has been deemed redundant because if you think about it, matches now rarely reach the full 2-minute mark, so what's the point in keeping the blue star? Or at least, why does it still reward the team who collects it with 1 star? This can now be game deciding in many situations. Also, teammate ratios can now really punish you. The most hated thing about Heist is what I like to call the non-defenders. In simple terms, these are players who avoid the enemy team and trade off save pushes, if you understand what I mean. Basically, by ignoring the other team, they allow the enemy team to push their own save so they can get a chance on the enemy save. In most cases, this is not successful and very much frowned upon by other players. The most hated thing about Hot Zone seems to be how strongly comp-based it is, and it actually makes sense if you think about it. At least in my experience, many of the Hot Zone matches I play are not close. I feel as though I either dominate the grounds the entire match, or I just don't step foot in it the entire 3 minutes. Perhaps it's just the rotation of maps? I don't know. The most hated thing about Knockout is the availability of cheese strategies. Even after Bo's huge rework that nerfed him in modes like Knockout, there are still many strategies that players can use where you can take enemies out from across the map, and a lot of players extremely dislike this fact. The most hated thing about Volleyball seems to be the many brawlers who are able to push enemies around, and of course they'll do it right before the ball lands, and there's nothing you can do about it. You'll notice that most strategies are built around such brawlers, and you'll even see the interesting Willow strategy pop up every now and then. Either way, a lot of players seem to hate the fact that a lot of matches can have such a turnout. The most hated thing about Duels happens to be the selection of maps they've had. I know that it has been terrible in the past, and if you ask me, I think the worst thing is enemy gales, but I mean, I don't even know what they were thinking when they came up with this one. I don't even think I need to elaborate on this one. And you're probably well aware that the most hated thing about Solo Showdown is teaming. I shouldn't say it so happily. The most hated thing about Duo Showdown is when you get taken out early, sure, that happens. But when your teammate rushes in and plays extremely aggressively, and then they get taken out and you lose trophies, that's the most hated thing about Duo Showdown. And finally, in Top Dog Showdown, which is just a slight rework of Solo Showdown, the most hated thing is Megs. They do everything you hate about Solo Showdown, just in the form of giant mechs walking around. Except in this clip you also notice that those two Dynamegs were in fact teaming. Before I conclude, I'd like to say that the mystery mode was not released yet when I record this. But anyways, if you stuck to the end, thank you very much for watching, and I will see you next time. Peace out.